Hello everyone, welcome back to the session of English. In this session, we are going to continue with our chapter Connectors. Now, this is part number 24. So, till now, we have already covered 23 parts of connectors. So, let us see what we are going to discuss in this lecture. Well, in this lecture, we will cover the following topics. And what are the following topics that we are going to cover are, first of all, we'll discuss time denoting connectors. As you know well that in all these sessions, we have been discussing connectors. Until now, we have done many connectors. In fact, we have discussed many connectors. In this session, we are going to discuss one more category of connector, and that is time denoting connectors. It means those connectors which depict time. After that, we'll discuss these types of time denoting connectors. And it means we are going to discuss types of these time denoting connectors. And after that, we have two connectors here, that is when and while, that we are going to discuss in this session. And both of these are actually the types of time denoting connectors. Okay, so we will discuss time denoting connectors in this session. Okay, so let's begin this session. First of all, we'll discuss that what are time denoting connectors. So we'll see the definition of time denoting connectors, or you can also say that we'll introduce time denoting connectors in the first part of this session. Here we have the definition of time denoting connectors. Time denoting, now time means any time that shows us the part of the day or part of the clock or any time. Denoting connectors are words or phrases used to link clauses or sentences in a way that indicates the timing or chronological relationship between them. Chronological means which is in a sequence, which is arranged in a proper chronology, in a sequence. That means from starting from a first part of something, and then the second one, then the third one, and then the fourth one. For example, if I talk about the chronology of a day, it should begin with morning, then afternoon, then evening, then night. Okay, so this is the chronological order of the day. And if I talk about the dates, so it should have been 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So this is the chronological order of the dates. Okay. These connectors help to sequence events. So this is the most important part or role of time denoting connectors, that they set a sequence of events. Okay, for example, if this happens at this time, and after that this happens, and after that that happens. So this is just making a garland of time or a chronological order or the sequence of those events. Show the duration of actions or illustrate the relationship between different points in time. Okay. So they set examples for, you can say, the relationship between different points in time. It means, first of all, this occurred, and only after this that happened, or only after that this happened. So this is actually a sequence that has been followed, indicating the times, and these are shown with the help of these time denoting connectors. Okay. So let us see that what are time denoting connectors, or what are the types of time denoting connectors. So here we can see some time denoting connectors. First of all, we'll have when, then while, then as, and then until. As I told you, in case of until and unless difference, I told you that unless is situation based, whereas until is time based. Okay. And when means a point of time, at the time when something appears or when something happens. So the point of time on which something happens. So there are more connectors that are time denoting connectors. These are till, as long as, so long as, or as soon as. So these also are the time denoting connectors. More than that are no sooner than. So these are some pair conjunctions that are also time denoting connectors. Hardly, scarcely is paired with when, then since, and then after. Before, now that, no matter, immediately or directly. So these also are time denoting connectors. The moment, instant, minute, that, in so far as, in as much as. So all these, you can say that these are 20. So these are 20 time denoting connectors. Okay, so we have not discussed actually, but we have mentioned that there are 20 connectors which are time denoting connectors. Okay, so there are 20 types of time denoting connectors, and we'll discuss each and every one by one with their examples, with their explanation, with their rules associated with them, or the structure of the sentences which can be made with the help of these connectors. Okay, so first we'll start our connector with when. So when is a time denoting connector, and first we'll elaborate this connector when. Okay, so let us elaborate this connector, that is when. Okay, so first of all, let us discuss meaning of when. It is a connector that indicates that an action happens at what time and at the time at which. It means this when. If you talk about the word when, this is actually, you can say it is either a conjunction or an adverb. Moreover, it is an adverb. Okay, it is adverb of time. First of all, we should know this, that this is actually an adverb of time which shows when the action happens, or when does the action take place. So this is adverb of time that shows us the time at which the action begins, or at which the action happens. Okay, for example, if I say when will you come, it means I'm asking about the time at which you are arriving. Okay, so this is actually an adverb of time. Okay, so first of all, what is its main role? To indicate a specific time point. It is used to specify the exact time an event takes place. It means at which the event takes place. For example, when the bell rings, everyone gathers for assembly. It means, for example, if you were in a school, you must have seen that whenever the bell rang, everyone gathered there for assembly. In fact, there are many actions that took place on the basis of that bell. Okay, it means when the bell rang, everyone gathered in the ground for recess, everyone started lunch, everyone go after the school is over. So that was actually dependent on the bell ringing. So in the assembly as well, when we used to listen to that bell, or when we heard that bell, we gathered in the ground for assembly. So here you can see the example that this shows the specification of a time, that the student, they know that or they knew that whenever the bell rings, what they have to do, they have to gather in the ground for assembly. Okay, now it introduces conditional scenarios, often introduces conditions in hypothetical or anticipated situations. Hypothetical means which are imaginary, okay, or the wishes based. When you finish your homework, we can go out. Okay, so this is when you finish your homework, this is the indication of time or a condition that we can go out only after you have finished your homework, only after if you have finished your homework. Now let us discuss uses of when. First of all, it indicates a specific point of time, or a specific time point. It is used to specify the exact time an event takes place. It means it shows us the time or the specification of that particular time at which some events take place. For example, when the bell rings, the class starts. So as I told you, when we were in a school, we noticed it that whenever the bell rang, we used to initiate some works, some pieces of work. Okay, so here you can see an example that when the bell rings, the class starts. It means the class starts, and it is totally based on the bell ringing. Okay, whenever everyone hears the bell is ringing, they used to initiate the classes. Describing simultaneous events. Simultaneous means which is occurring one by one. When can show that two events occur at the same time. Okay, simultaneous means at the same time. For example, if something is happening over here, parallelly another action taking place. Is taking place. When I cook, I often listen to music. It means I often listen to music at the time I'm cooking. Okay. Now, highlighting cause and effect. It is used to indicate a cause and effect relationship where one event is a direct consequence of another. For example, when it rains, the ground gets wet. So it does not only indicate the time, but also it sets a situation in which you can see the condition that this happens only when it happens. Okay, so when it rains, there is one condition. It means this is when the time is of rain, the ground gets wet. Obviously, it gets wet. Why so? Because it is raining. Okay, so here we can see the consequence. What is the consequence? That the ground gets wet, and the consequence, what What was the cause of it? That when it rains. So this is the reason and this is the result or consequence you can see over here. Now, referring to a past event, when is used to talk about an event that happened in the past. I remember when we visited Paris. It means there is someone who is feeling nostalgia and is showing that he remembers. He remembers when we visited Paris. It means the speaker is saying that I remember. It means he remembered or he remembers that when they visited Paris. It means a trip that they went to Paris. Introducing conditional situations. It can introduce conditions, especially in future oriented sentences. For example, when you finish your homework, you can watch TV. Now, you can watch TV. This is a condition only. It will only happen when you finish your homework. It means this can only happen after this has happened. Okay. Now, recurring events or habits. When is used to describe events or actions that happen regularly or habitually. When I was a child, I used to play in the park. So, it shows the habit of that particular person. That means when in his childhood, he used to play in the park. So, it was his habit in case of his childhood. Setting the scene in narratives. In storytelling, when is often used to set the time for a narrative or an action within a story. For example, when the sun rose, they set out on their journey. It means when the sun rose. It means when the sun rose, they set out on their journey. It means they began their journey. Now, structure of when. When clause. This is the part of the sentence introduced by when. It specifies the time at which the event in the main clause occurs. Okay, so after when will indicate the time time of that particular action which takes in the main clause. It means in main clause we write an action, and in when clause we write the time at which this action takes place. Okay, occurred or will occur. The when clause can either precede or follow the main clause. Okay, but after this when clause, the time indication should be mentioned. Main clause. This is the main part of the sentence that describes the action or event. The occurrence of this action or event is related to the time or condition specified in the when clause. Okay, so the action that has been mentioned in this main clause is totally according to the time which is mentioned in the when clause. It means this action is occurring or will occur, or maybe possible it happened only at the time which is given in the when clause. The structure can be represented in two ways depending on the placement of the when clause. When clause at the beginning, so we can either begin the sentence with when, or we can also use this when in the middle of the sentence. When the when clause precedes the main clause, it is usually followed by a comma. So if we are using first of all the when clause, we will have this time situation, or after that we'll have comma and then the main clause which contains the action. For example, when the meeting ended, comma, we all went for lunch. Now, however, the punctuation you can ignore in some competitive exams. So, but many competitive exams, they require the use of punctuation to be learnt. When clause following the main clause. When the when clause follows the main clause, it means when main clause comes first and after that we have the when clause, there is generally no need for comma. So we need not put a comma over there. We all went for lunch when the meeting ended. Now you can say, first of all, we have written the main clause which contains the action. That is, we all went for lunch. Okay, so this is the main clause that contains the action. Whereas this when clause, the meeting ended. So this is the time indication which is written in the when clause. And in this entire sentence, we do not have any comma in between. Okay, because here when is lying in the middle of the sentence. Okay. Now, rules associated with when. First of all, placement in a sentence. When can be used at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence. If it starts the sentence, it is usually followed by a comma. For example, when I arrived, the meeting had already started. Past, present, and future tenses. When can be used with the different tenses to indicate past, present, or future events. the tense in the when clause should be consistent with the tense in the main clause. Okay, it means whichever tense we are using in the when clause should be used according to the main clause, or you can say the actions of both the clauses should match with each other. It means they both should be consistent, following standard rules of English tenses. Conditional sentences. In conditional sentences, when is used for situations that are likely or certain. It should not be confused with if, which is used for hypothetical or uncertain situations. When shows actually the action that will occur definitely or that have occurred. Okay. So simultaneous action. Simultaneous means parallelly or at the same time. When indicating that two actions occur simultaneously, when is used in both clauses. For example, when it started to rain, I was walking home. It means I was walking towards home when it started to rain. Cause and effect. In sentences where when is used to show cause and effect, the event in the when clause typically triggers. Triggers means instigates or motivates the event in the main clause. Okay. For example, when the alarm rang. So alarm rang, this is the past tense. Okay, everyone evacuated. It means alarm rang. It means everyone they came into action. They evacuated. They escaped. So when the alarm rang, it triggered them to go away from there. Okay, maybe possible there is some natural calamity or there is something which is adverse happened over there. Okay. No double conjunctions. Now, this is the main point in case of use of when. If we are using when in a sentence, we should not use double conjunctions. It means when, with the word when, we cannot have any pair. Okay. For example, if I say that in case of lest, I have should. In case of either, I have or, hardly, scarcely, when. But if we are beginning with the sentence with when, or if it indicates the time, we cannot have any other conjunction paired with it. Okay. Avoid using double conjunctions like when and then. We cannot use when and then together in the same clause, as this is redundant. For example, say when I woke up, I made coffee. This is correct. But if I say when I woke up, then I made coffee, this is incorrect. I cannot use when and then together. Okay, we should not make unnecessary pairs. For example, after because we cannot use then. After if we cannot use then. With because we cannot use so. With therefore we cannot use so. Because the single conjunctions, they should be used alone. Whether they are single subordinates or single coordinates, but single conjunction, they should remain single. We should not make unnecessary pairs with them. Okay, so avoid using double conjunctions or unnecessary pairs. This is very, very important, and these type of errors occur many times in our examination. Narrative and descriptive use. In storytelling or descriptive writing, when is used to set the scene or provide a temporal context. Temporal means time-based context. Okay, so they set you can say they set a plot or create a spectacle that you can imagine that what is going on in this story. Okay, so you can imagine that particular thing which you are hearing, that okay, this is happening. Okay, so that to display everything, that displays everything in front of you or before you, and you start imagining all the situations that are going on in the story. It should be used to enhance the narrative without causing confusion. Avoiding ambiguity. Ensure that it is clear which event or action when is referring to avoid ambiguity in the sentence. Okay, so whenever we are making a sentence, we should be clear that whatever action is taking place in the case of main clause, it should be relevant or related to the when clause or the time which is indicated in the main in the when clause. Okay, so when clause should be related to the main clause always. Examples of when: indicating specific time points. When the clock strikes 12, the ceremony will begin. Okay, I was just about to leave when the phone rang. So I was just about to leave when the phone rang. It means it happened simultaneously. Or you can say when the clock strikes 12, the ceremony will begin. So the ceremony will begin only when the clock strikes 12. Describing simultaneous actions. When I cook, I often listen to music. It means these two actions take place at the same time. The streets get busy when the office hours end. Okay, so when do the streets get busy? When the office hours end. Okay, so these two action occurs at the same time. Expressing cause and effect. When it rains, the garden looks more vibrant. So whenever it happens, this happens. Okay, so this is the consequence of this cause. He always smiles when she enters the room. Okay, so he always smiles. This is the consequence. And what is the cause for this? The cause is that she enters the room. And this is the consequence, or you can say the result. Okay, you can say the effect. Okay, so what is the effect of her entering the room? That he always smiles. Referring to the past events, when I was a child, I used to play in the park. So this is actually showing the past time, the habit of a person when he used to be a child. We were watching a movie when the power went out. Okay, so this also shows the past time. Introducing conditional situations. When you complete your assignment, you can take a break. Call me when you get home safely. Okay, so these are two actions which are introducing the conditional sentences. It means when you complete your assignment, you can take a break. It means when you can take a break. This is a condition. There is a condition that you should complete your assignment. Call me. What is the condition? When you get home safely. Only after you get home safely. Call me after that. Discussing future events. I will let you know when the meeting is scheduled. Okay. When summer arrives, we will go to the beach. Okay, so these are the future events. Narrative or descriptive context. When the sun set, the city lit up with lights. When she heard the news, her face lit up with joy. Okay, so these are narrative or descriptive context. Now we'll discuss another connector, and that is while. Meaning of while. First of all, let us discuss the meaning of while. While is a time denoting connector used to indicate that two or more events occur simultaneously or at the same time. It establishes a parallel or concurrent relationship between actions or situations. Now, we can see that in both the situations, when and while, we can see the one main point, that is two actions occurring simultaneously. But what is the difference between while and when? It is actually when shows the time which has happened or occurred, whereas while shows those actions which are actually going on or which were actually going on. Okay, so in the while clause, we write that particular sentence or that particular situation which is exactly going on at that particular time. Now let us see this with some examples. Simultaneity. While primarily denotes that two actions or events are happening at the same time. It is not like that when this is done. No, they both are happening at the same time. While I was cooking, the phone rang. So this action was going on at that particular time. Okay. Now, in some contexts, while can also be used to contrast two different actions or situations occurring concurrently. While I enjoy hiking, my friend prefers cycling. Okay. It often emphasizes this is the duration, emphasizes the ongoing nature of an action. As I told you that it shows the ongoing nature, it means continuous nature of an action or situation, especially in the context of something else happening. While living in New York, she learned to speak Spanish. On the other hand, I can write that when he was living in when he was in New York, he learned to speak Spanish. So when he was in New York, so this is something which has done or which we are referring to the past. But if I say while living in New York, it means she learned to speak Spanish while she was living in New York. Okay. Uses of while, indicating simultaneous actions. While is commonly used to show that two events are happening at the same time. While I was studying, my brother was playing video games. Okay, so two actions are taking place simultaneously. Contrasting two situations. Now, if you say that when and while, they both show simultaneous situations, but there is a big difference. How? First, let me tell you this. While I was studying, my brother was playing video games. This is actually the use of while. But if I say, when I study or when I studied, my brother played video games, or my brother used to play video games, okay, or my brother plays video games. So these two actions, they take place whenever something happens, whereas why show the continuity. It means when shows the present scenario or the recurring events, whereas why shows the continuous actions. Okay, this is the basic difference between when and why. Now, contrasting two situations. It can also be used to contrast two different situations or actions occurring at the same time. While I like to travel, my partner prefers staying at home. My partner prefers staying at home. It means there are this while shows two actions which are making the difference in two things or in the choices of two different people. Okay. So while I like to travel, it means there is a difference between me and my partner that has been shown with the help of this sentence, that while I like to travel, my partner prefers staying at home. So he likes to stay at home, whereas I like to traveling. Okay. Duration of ongoing actions. While often indicates the duration of an ongoing action, especially when another action interrupts it. For instance, the phone rang while I was taking a bath. Okay. So you can say that this phone rang when while I was taking a bath. So this action was going on when this happened, and this interrupted bathing of this person. In complex sentences, it is used to create complex sentences where one clause introduced by while runs concurrently with the main clause. For example, while the teacher explained the lesson, the students took notes. Expressing conditions. Sometimes while can imply a condition in a situation similar to as long as. For example, while you are living under my roof, you need to follow the rules. Okay. Informal or literary usage. While is also used in informal or literary writing to provide a temporal context or to set up a scene. For example, while the city slept, the thieves planned their heist. Heist means theft. Okay, heist means theft. So while the city slept, it means while this action was going on, the thieves, they were planning to show their planned their heist means planned their theft. Structure of while clause. This clause is introduced by while and describes an ongoing action or a state. It sets the temporal context of the main clause or for the main clause. It means whatever main clause, the action which is described in the main clause, the time for that particular action is shown by the word while, which can be written in the while clause. Now, main clause, this is the primary part of the sentence which describes another action or event happening at the same time as the one in the while clause. The structure can be represented in two ways depending on the placement of while clause. While clause at the beginning. When the while clause precedes the main clause, it is usually followed by a comma. As we did in the when clause, this is the same as that of when clause. For example, while I was reading, the phone rang. Now you can see while clause in the beginning of the sentence, so we have a comma. But if we write this while in the middle of the sentence, we should not have a comma over there, or we need not write a comma. While clause following the main clause. When the while clause follows the main clause, there is generally no comma separating them. I listened to music while I was working. So you can see that we need not put a comma in between when the sentence is beginning with the main clause and while is used in the middle of the sentence. Now, rules associated with while. Simultaneity of actions. While is primarily used to denote that two or more actions or events are happening at the same time. For instance, while I was cooking, they were sitting on the table. Sorry, they were setting the table. They were setting the table. It means this action was going on when this another action was taking place. Okay, that they were setting the table. Placement in a sentence. While can be placed at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence. If it starts a sentence and introduces a dependent clause, a comma is typically used before the main clause. Continuous or progressive tenses. When while is used to denote simultaneous actions The verbs in both clauses are usually in the continuous or progressive tense. Okay, so while this is very very important in case of while, that both the actions they are, because they are progressive, it means they are going on. So progressive tense, it means continuous tense should be used in the clauses. While it was raining, I was reading a book. Contrasting situations, while can also be used to contrast two different actions or situations occurring at the same time. In such cases, it functions similarly to whereas or although. Okay, as I told you, the difference. It means they while clause can show the while in the main clause they can show the difference between two situations or two persons. No double conjunctions. Avoid using while in conjunction with other conjunctions. As I told you that we should not make unnecessary pairs in the same clause, as it can lead to redundancy or confusion. Avoiding ambiguity, ensure that the use of while clearly indicates the relationship between the two clauses, particularly in terms of timing or contrast. Use in complex sentences. While is often used to create complex sentences connecting an independent clause with a dependent clause that provides the timing or contrastive context. It means whatever you are writing should be clear and clearly related to the other clause. Subject consistency. When using while to connect two clauses, check for subject consistency. Different subjects in each clause are common, but the same subject can also be implied or explicitly stated in both. It means two clauses, they should have the separate, you can say separate subjects, but if it has two subjects which are of the same type or which are the same, we should be clear in the meaning of the sentence. Examples of while. Now let us look for some examples of while. First of all, simultaneous actions. While I was cooking dinner, my sister was setting the table. He listened to music while he worked on his project. Contrasting situations. While I prefer classical music, my brother loves rock. Okay, so this is the difference between me and my brother. While the north enjoys snow, the south experiences sunny weather. So we can see the experiences in both the directions, that is north and the south. Ongoing action with interruption. The phone rang while I was taking a shower. While we were watching the movie, the electricity went out. Okay, so you can see the disruption or the interruption of the action on the another action. Setting a scene in narratives. While the city slept, a few lights flickered in the skyline. She received the news while on vacation. Informal or literary usage. While many favor modern art, there remains a strong appreciation for the classics. While the debate continued, a consensus seemed far off. In descriptive context, the birds chirped while the sun rose. While walking through the forest, they enjoyed the tranquility. Okay, tranquility and peace. Well, we have already learned these connectors in this session, that is when and while. I hope you find this session beneficial to you all. And in the next session, we'll be doing more connectors. And if you want to learn more connectors, be connected with me. Thanks to you.